A very good evening to all of you and welcome to this very important webinar on home loans. MarketsMojo is not about home loans. We do not have any advice on home loans, but this is that one component that affects all our lives. And every time that I think of home loan, I think of a very simple product which typically investors understand. But trust me, the complexity behind this product is absolutely overwhelming. Are the solutions overwhelming as well? The answer is no. So, in due disclosure, if I were to tell you that I personally took a home loan very recently, and I spent close to 3 months with various banks trying to understand the various terms and trying to understand the nuances, much more like a expert rather than a investor. And every time that I was going through all the nuances and every time that I was looking at what the bankers were trying to achieve or what the banks are trying to achieve, the only thing that I kept thinking about is that I am going to educate my Mojo professional investors about the journey of home loans and how they can possibly save lakhs and crores of money that they typically pay to banks. I'm not a big fan of banks. I'm not a big fan of bankers. I must tell you out here. In my due journey of the last 3 months of dealing with banks and bankers, I can tell you, I have not come across one single trustworthy guy who I can say that he can explain the home loans in a straightforward, frank way. There are hidden costs, there are hidden clauses, there are documents that we keep signing page after page without knowing what we are signing, but there are certain things that we need to be very cognizant about. So today, this particular webinar that you're attending, and I would request you to, if you've not included your family in this is a very, very detailed and exhaustive webinar that I'm doing. It's a very simple webinar, and some of the points will open up your minds in terms of what actually we are buying and what actually we can buy possibly to save that lakhs and crores. The small nuances that will surprise you during this course of the webinar. It has been our effort, I must confess, as MarketsMojo, whenever we find a loophole, whenever we find something interesting to come in front of you, whether we are in that product or not. So it is not an equity research product. As I said, this is home loans. A disclaimer, we emphasize that all investors should use the information on the webinar merely as a resource to enhance their own research and understanding. Nothing discussed on this webinar should be considered as investment advice. We strongly advise all participants to check with certified experts before taking any investment decision. And investment in securities is subject to market risk. Past performance should not be construed as a guarantee for future returns. Investments in equity and equity-related securities involve a high degree of risk, and the users should not place funds to invest unless they can afford to take the risk on their investment. And obviously, past performance is no indicator of future performance. On last Friday, I don't know how many of you were present, but I had made a very important announcement. We've been sending mails also on that. I'm just going to cover and tell you what are the two things that we're doing. There are two very important announcements before we get into this particular format of the webinar. And this is the following two things that are happening, which is model portfolios will move to Mojo Infinity. Now, before you, there's a lot of questions that are coming in over over the weekend. I'm going to answer some of the questions as queries. Model portfolio will get integrated into Mojo Infinity because that's when we can run it as a proper portfolio product, and I'll tell you the reason we are going to do that. And also from 1st of Feb, Portfolio Optimizer will move out of the MojoOne plan and will become a part of Mojo Infinity. So Portfolio Optimizer and the model portfolios from 1st of Feb, we will remove it from the MojoOne platform and put it into the Mojo Infinity platform. Why are we doing that? A lot of you have asked us this before, and we are doing this now. The reason we are doing this primarily is because the current execution rate on model portfolios on our platform is 5% or less. which means people have it, but people are not diligent in using it. And that is not because you don't want to use it, because it's a little cumbersome platform to use. What we are going to do is, by moving this into the Mojo Infinity, we are hoping that this execution rate, which is at 5%, should go up to around 80-85%. That is what the Infinity's portfolio's execution rate today is. So we want to mirror that execution rate, because there's no point having a product which we are using it half-heartedly. We have to use it fully. We will also give the flexibility of trading directly through small case, which means that the 15 brokers that we offer as a platform on Infinity, which will be offered to the model portfolio users as well. Execution will be faster, manual entries will go away, manual errors will go away, the rebalancing will be automatic order generations. You will be able to put your own negative list where you don't want to invest, and we will obviously remove that from the advice. And obviously we'll also provide you the virtual portfolio, which typically gives you the parameter of the execution discipline. So all the best practices that we have Infinity, we are now very, very happy to give it to our model portfolio users. Now, none of the MojoOne users need to worry at all. You guys have been writing to the desk that what will happen to us. Nothing is going to happen. We are not going to charge anything for our existing MojoOne users. From 1st of Feb onwards, any new user who joins the MarketsMojo platform will have to buy these two products separately on Mojo Infinity. But if you are an existing MojoOne user, you will continue to use it absolutely free of cost till the expiration of your MojoOne package. So there is no difference out there. I will come and tell you how it look and all of that stuff. That is something I'm going to address as a FAQ quickly before we get into our topic. But from 1st of Feb, new users who are joining us will have to take MojoOne subscription plan separately. And if they want to invest in model portfolios or in Infinity portfolios, they'll have to pay a AUA fees. This AUA fees is not applicable for the existing MojoOne users, where we have promised them the model portfolio service. Their fees obviously will be zero. They are not going to pay anything unless their subscription passes away. If your subscription ends, then you are treated as a new user again, and then you will not get that model portfolio. You will have to buy it separately. Model portfolio will be on a AUA fees, but none of the existing Mojo subscribers need to worry about, because they will keep using it. A lot of you came back to us and said that, can you give us that offer, because now we want to extend our subscription date. So we had launched this on Friday for till midnight. We are also giving you this today till midnight. 14,999 for 1 year, where you get 2 year extra free. So this is a 3-year pack, which is 14,999 for 3 years. This is the December offer that we had done. We are relaunching it for a few hours to make sure that if you want to extend, because you don't want your subscription to end soon. So if you want to extend, you can extend that. This is available only on the webinar link that is available here. Please make sure that through this webinar, or maybe immediately after the webinar, you would have extended, because we'll not keep this on. This was one of the rock bottom offer that we had done in the last 5 years. We will shortly close this out. I am going to cover today in this particular presentation some very important aspects. There are 7 topics that I'm going to be touching upon today. Should you take home loan at all? That's a starting question, because some of you may be having a home loan, some of you may be planning to take a home loan. So that's a very important question to address. It's a very simple question. Should you be taking a home loan at all or not? How much home loan to take and for how long? Again, a very important question. What limit you need to go to take a home loan, and for what period is the best approach to take the home loan? Now, the point number 3 and 4, very important. The home loan construct. I will explain you the nuances of a home loan construct. Memorize this. Wherever you want to take a picture of slides, please go ahead and take it. But memorize the construct of a home loan, because that is going to define your savings on what you're already doing if you're an investor who's taken a home loan or if you're planning to take. So construct is very important to understand. Point number 4, as I promised you, that we will look at how to reduce your loan interest rate. Loan interest rate reduction obviously results in reduction of your liability, obviously affects and reduces the outlay that you have towards your home loan over a longish period of time. Point number 5 will be, should we prepay the loan or not? Again, a very important thing. Point number 6, how do you hedge your risk? If anything happens to you, how do you hedge this home loan risk? And 7th, the last point would be the key things to always remember when you're going it. It is basically a summary of everything. So in case you miss coming in between, or you are talking to somebody, in the last 7th point, I will cover up what are the key things that we've discussed through the webinar that you need to always remember. If there is one picture you need to take, you can take it off the point number 7. Let's start. Should you take home loan at all? A lot of people who have money, even if they have money to fully pay for their homes, this question applies to them more than people who don't have the money and they are trying to typically take a home loan. So if you were to look at, the question starts, do you have the money to buy that home of your choice? If you don't have the money, then the answer is very simple, because you need to take a home loan, right? So that is very simple. So that, leave aside that one. Now let's assume that you have the money. Then the question really comes. You have the money in either debt instruments or you have the money in equity instruments, then what should you do? So if you look at money in FD and debt instruments, the best way to take a home loan is to make sure that you only have contingency debt money available, which is things that you may need in the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. So remaining of the FD and the debt money you should use before you take the home loan. Very simply, I will give you a detailed math on this later on. But if you have non-contingency FDs and non-contingency debt instruments that can be used to put money towards your home before you take the home loan. And if you have money that is in 10% plus opportunities, which can be equity, which can be other investments that are anyways giving you 10% opportunity returns, then you straight away take a home loan, because a home loan rate of interest is not going to beat the equity return on capital over a longer period of time. So simple math, you have the money, no, take it. If you have the money, then money in FD instruments you should use first towards buying that home. You fall short, take the home loan of the remaining amount, and if the money is lying in equities or in any other instruments that typically would earn more than 10%, you don't take the loan. Now let's come to an easy one, which is how much home loan to take and for how long. Let's talk about the bank's permissible limits out here. Banks will give you, they will talk about 75%, they go up to 80%, but they can even go up to 90% of the home value as loan. You have to negotiate harder. This has to be in line with your monthly earnings and obviously your CIBIL score, because if your monthly earnings don't give you that EMI paying capability, the bank will not offer you that loan. But if it is there, the paying capability is there, you can go up to 90% of the home value as what you can take as as loan. A lot of banks have certain addendums, certain agreements that they keep adding onto your principal amount, onto your home loan amount to increase the exposure towards your home loan. A typical story I'll tell you, one of the banks gave me a sanction letter. When I went through the sanction letter, it had a processing fee of 1%. So let's assume that if you're taking a 5 crore or a 10 crore or a 2 crore loan, it had relevantly that 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees as 1% processing fee, right? When I saw the sanction letter, I called the bankers to the office and I said, what is this? I said, which era are you living in? Why have you given me a sanction letter with a 1% processing fee? In less than 30 seconds of my discussion with the banker, he made it 0. There are a lot of hidden clauses that will affect your loan taking process. One of the main things is, please make sure your processing fees is 0. Somebody says 3,000 rupees, somebody says 1%, somebody says 50,000 rupees. It's nothing. It is a way of banks making money. It is actually 0. You don't even have to negotiate hard here to get your processing fees as 0. The processing fees has to be 0. So please make sure that you keep that in mind when you're taking a loan. There are no prepayment charges. Initially in 2005, 2007, 2009, there were prepayment charges. Now there are no prepayment charges. Please make sure that you vet that in the sanction letter. There is no foreclosure charges. What's a foreclosure of a loan is you pay the full amount or remaining principal and you close the account. Foreclosure charges are 0. Right? And make sure if the banker says that, sir, ye to ek sanction letter hai, your actual loans will be on this term, do not buy that. Don't accept that sanction letter unless all the clauses are a part of it, which is processing fees has to be 0, prepayment penalty has to be 0, foreclosure penalty has to be 0. Make sure this is mentioned in your sanction letter when you accept a loan sanction. Very, very, very important thing. You don't want to take a 5 crore loan and give a 5 lakh processing fees or a 2.5 lakh processing fees, or for that matter, even 1 rupee processing fees. Anybody who calls you, tell them, go away, make it 0, and he will come back to you in 30 seconds. Right? So make sure that you are cognizant of these facts. We want to ultimately prepay our loan. If there is that's an objective. If we want to prepay our loan, payment of loan penalty has to be 0, and foreclosure of loan, the penalty has to be 0. That's the base. That's our starting point. Now your permissible limits, you are taking a loan for the next 20 years, and this is my third home loan, I would say. And I have always noticed one thing: if you're a first-time home loan taker, you will also notice the same thing. To just give you an example, I took my first home loan in the year 2002. Right? I took this home loan for around 40 lakh rupees. I was buying a home in Bandra. I took a home loan of around 40 lakh rupees, way out of my limit. Way out of my limit. I mean, I was paying almost 80% of my salary as EMI. Way out of my limit. And when I looked at this, I thought I took an extra exposure out there. I thought this is something that can lead me into a issue if I'm able to pay this home loan or not. And I took a 20 years. I negotiated the largest term with the bankers. 4 years, I paid off the loan fully. So what happens here is that you are always worried about the present and pessimistic about the future. When you're taking a home loan, please don't be worried about the present, and please be optimistic about the future, because if you go back and see your earnings have always grown, earnings will grow. There can be minor setbacks, but earnings over a period of time will go. So you are taking a loan of 20 years, overexposure will always help you. Trust me, overexposure a little bit will always help you. Don't compromise and move away from your dream loan because you will say that, how can I survive in this? How will I do? Because that fitment automatically happens in your mind. Your dream home today, whatever home you dream of and you buy with your limited capabilities by taking a home loan, will always look smaller tomorrow. So you have to always keep this in your mind, that the home loan, if you're taking that house, you will be able to prepay early on. You will be able to maybe buy another home. So don't be scared when you're taking a home loan. You can stretch yourself and go up to 80% of your monthly income as EMI. There is no problem. If you are basically on rent, then you go a little lower than that 80%. Look at but when this 80% you will take in 3-4 years, it will become 30%, 40% or 50%. So that expansion will happen. The tightness of a home loan payment or the EMI payment is there in the first 2-3 years. If you can manage that tightness, the home can be bigger and that home loan liability will certainly look smaller in 2 to 3 years' time. To me, I would suggest you to go for the full permissible limit of 80, 85, 90%, whatever you get for a home loan. Absolutely straight answer. Go. There is no opportunity in this country today which today gives you a lending facility, a secured lending facility of 8.5%, and we are sitting at today 8.6%. Don't miss it. If you're early in the age, then also you can take it. If you're later in the age, say 45, 50 also, then you'll be able to take it up to 70 years. Do not shy away from taking a largish exposure by being conservative of today and by being pessimistic on tomorrow. Be little more moderate to aggressive today, and you will see how optimistic the whole scenario will turn out after 3 years, 4 years. For how long? Always go for the max tenure of 20 years. Please don't think that you will go for a 10-year period and all this stuff, because it is a very simple math that you will be able to take a bigger loan, because in a 10-year loan, your EMI expands, and if your salary is not sufficing it, then obviously you will be able to take a lesser loan. So if you're going for the largest tenure, your loan amount can be much higher. Your payment duration is 20 years, so you get a lot of opportunity to prepay this particular loan, right? Your interest payment also is delayed. So a longer horizon of taking a home loan is absolutely a must. Don't try and trouble yourself by taking a 5-year or a 10-year loan. Go for a full loan. If you know that you can pay it out, you pay it earlier, but at least go for the full flexibility of the larger loan that you can take at a much higher flexibility of paying over 20 years. The FD arbitrage, and I'm going to talk about this FD arbitrage in detail because, we are Indians, we have a lot of savings parked in debt instruments or in FDs, and the FD arbitrage will really help you in prepayment of this particular loan. How that happens, please stay with me and I will come to that. Okay, now this point onwards, which is how the loan construct works, is very important for us to understand. If you get this third point, fourth point becomes very easy. The third point is a cracker of understanding the construct of a home loan. Once we understand how a home loan is constructed, saving lakhs and crores becomes very easy, right? I do not talk to banks about what is your rate of interest. Can you imagine? I don't talk. What is your rate of interest? That discussion, if you have with the banker, he's going to get very uncomfortable. मेरे को rate of interest मत बताओ. Rate of interest से मेरे को लेना देना ही नहीं. And that is what I'm going to explain you here, right? If you look at the construct, a home loan is constructed in two parts. There are two components to a home loan. One is a repo rate. Now, what is a repo rate? A repo rate is the rate at which Reserve Bank of India lends money to commercial banks or financial institutions in India against government securities. So repo rate is same for all the banks. The second component is the bank margin, which is different for all the banks. The total home loan rate, which is different for different banks, is nothing but repo rate plus bank margin. The repo rate, I repeat, is same for all banks. The bank margin is where the difference is. Different banks have different margins that they want to earn from you. That makes the overall home loan rate different. it is your legal right to know the margin the bank is charging you. It is absolutely imperative for you to know the margin the bank is charging you. Even if they don't tell you, there is a very simple way of finding that out, and I will show you how simple this is. But before that, let's take a very simple example. Bank 1, repo rate is 6.5%, which is, as I said, constant across all banks. Margin is 2.5%. You add those two, that becomes a home loan rate of 9%. Bank 2, repo rate is 6.5%. Margin is 2.2%. Home loan rate is 8.7%. Bank 3, repo rate is 6.5%. Margin is 1.8%. Home loan rate is 8.3%. Now, these are the three banks which is at 9%, which is at 8.6%, and which is at 8.3%. Why? Because of the different profit margins that they're charging you. Right? The margin is what defines the difference in the interest rate that a home loan provider or a bank that charges you. So when I told you before I started this point that I don't ask the banks what the rate of interest is, I ask them what your margin is. Aap margin batao mujhe. And they get shaken up. I said, मुझे rate नहीं चाहिए, मुझे margin बताओ आप कितना charge करते हो. Right? And then that's the reality that comes out, because most of these guys are not going to tell you the margin, because most of the home loan takers don't know what the repo is. Is there an easy way of finding it? It is absolutely dumb-proof way of finding it. Even the dumbest person can find this in less than 10 seconds. Right? How? The banker says the home loan rate, sir, is 8.8%. Go to Google and just repo the current and just query the current repo rate. This is, I've just done that on Google, right? So it says 6.5%. 8.5% minus 6.5%, the bank's margin is 2.3%. Easy. If you are an existing home loan taker today, go there and you will not be able to figure out what happened. Right? You will say, I am fine. And I will prove it to you why you're not fine. But you need to know what is the margin the bank is charging you. That is the negotiation. Negotiation is not on the interest rate. The negotiation is on the spread or the margin that the bank is charging you over the repo. Repo is not your control. Repo is not in your control. Repo can change any time. And if the repo changes, if you're in a floating rate, then the rate of interest will change. May not change, because typically I'll explain you how the bankers do this so that you know very clearly that what happens and what you need to do in this kind of a scenario. I will go to point number 4 to tell you how to now save money. But remember, the wrong question to ask is what's your rate of interest? The right question to ask is aapka margin kya hai? What is your margin that you're charging me? Because that will give you a fundamental ground of negotiation or a fundamental ground of comparison or a fundamental route to shift or fund transfer, as we call it, to some other bank. Yeah. So no trick about the repo rate. Repo rate changes will be auto-executed to adjust your home loans upwards or downwards. Repo rate agar 6.5% hai, it becomes 6%, your EMI will drop or your tenure will come down, because there are only two ways to adjust moving floating rates. Either the EMI drops or your tenure compresses or moves up. Right? So if the repo rate becomes from 6.5 to 6%, RBI starts lending at 6%, obviously your liability comes down, you get that 0.5% exposure straight away. If the repo rate goes from 6.5 to 7%, your home loan rate typically increases, not in your control. Not in your control. That is a variable that a bank cannot play with. But bank margin is where the magic is and where the black hole is. Okay? Bank changes its own margins very frequently to stay attractive to the investors. Take a simple example. Today we are at 6.5% repo. Let's assume the bank is charging you a margin of 2.2%. So your total home loan rate is 8.7%. For whatever reason, bank increases or repo rate increases from 6.5 to say 7.5, right? As soon as that happens, your liability becomes 9.7 now, right? So what the bank does at that time is that they reduce their margin of 2.2 sometimes so that they stay attracted. So वो जो 2.2 का margin है, they'll say that अरे अगर if we do 9.7 then we'll not get new customers. Let's reduce this a little bit to 2.1%, 2.2% or 2%, right? So to stay attractive, the bank frequently changes its margin. Now let's assume the other case. What is the other case? The other case is that repo from 6.5 moves backwards to say 5.5. So now 5.5 plus 2.2. So 7.7 becomes your interest rate. Will the banks do the same thing? They will say अभी customer तो 8.7 पे ले रहा था, अगर थोड़ा attractive कर दूंगा तो 8.5 दे देता हूँ. So they will increase their margin from 2.2 to 2.9. So the hard reality is repo rate movement is not in control. Bank margin to keep adjusting customer expectation keeps happening by the bank. Bank will either increase it, decrease it, they keep doing it. There is a very, very important message out here, and that message I'm going to come to show you what you can do. If the repo rate changes, it will auto adjust in your loan. So 6.5 changes to 5.5, 6.5 changes to 7.5, it will get auto adjusted. If the bank changes the margin, it doesn't tell you. If the bank changes the margin, they will change the margin not for you. The new loans that they are raising, right? So now let's take an example. That if the margin today that the bank is charging me is 2.2, repo बढ़ गया, so the bank will say, okay, I make it 2. So the bank makes it 2 for the new set of investors that are coming, not for you. You are still at 2.2. But if you apply, if you fill in one piece of paper to the bank saying that move me to the current margin, they will move it. So 2.2 becomes 2. They cannot increase. They cannot decrease without your permission. So if you, as soon as I have taken a home loan at 2.2, after 3 months or 6 months, I figure out, I call up the bank, I said, क्या margin है आपका? And the guy says it has become 2. I'm coming to the bank. Put an application, they charge you some 2,000 rupees and say, move me to 2%. And your home loan liability for 20 years is now 20 bits cheaper. If you call up on the same call, the guy says, sir, हमारा margin अभी 2.2 से 2.4 हो गया है. You can laugh off, wish well to the new guys who are taking the loans because they can't do it. They can't increase your rate. Once that rate is on your loan document, it's your choice whether you want to reduce it, and that is the biggest flaw because of our unawareness that we never approach the bank. हमको लगता है ये 20 साल का लोन हमने ले लिया है, 50,000 का मेरा EMI है, अब ये 50,000 मुझे 20 साल तक पे करना है. To manage that, you need to be calling the bank every 3-6 months and checking on the margin and saying that, okay, margin आपका नीचे आया, मेरे को दे दो ये वाला margin. And the bank can give you that. The bank is legally supposed to give you that. If you apply, I can guarantee you 99% of the home loan investors don't apply. Because वो एक बार home आ जाता है, वो EMI की आदत पड़ जाती है, तो that bleed is every month, so वो जाता रहता है. We don't want to reduce our liability. And this is the way that you can reduce our liability. Let's take an example. Let's say pre-COVID, I'm just giving an example, the rates were different. If the repo was at 5%, bank margin was at 4%, total home loan was 9%. Now the repo is at 6 point, and let's assume that you took the loan, pre-COVID. So आप 9% भर रहे हैं. You're filling 9%. Now if you see the repo is at 6.5%, banks have dropped, because अगर 6.5 और 4 रखते थे बैंक मार्जिन, so it's 10.5% हो जाता था. So they dropped their margin to 2.2. And the current rate is say 8.7. आपने लिया हुआ है 9 पे. This is 8.7. अगर तो आप मार्जिन के लिए अप्लाई नहीं करेंगे, so you know what rate you are paying? 6.5%, which is the repo, वो तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते, plus 4% margin, because you had signed for a 4% margin. You would be paying 10.5%. आप ज़्यादा पे करेंगे, because margin move, repo is moved. So for you to come to 2.2, you have to meet the bankers, you have to put in one application, you have to go there and say, ये लो 2,000 रुपए, change कर दो इसको. That is the big miss that the home loan investors have when they take a home loan and they don't manage it over a period of time. Now, आप बोलेंगे मेरा तो EMI चेंज नहीं हुआ, राइट? आप बोलेंगे मेरा तो EMI चेंज नहीं हुआ. आप बोल रहे हो मेरा 10.5% हो गया है, मेरा तो EMI चेंज नहीं हुआ. सर आपका EMI इसलिए चेंज नहीं हुआ क्योंकि उन्होंने आपका टेन्योर बढ़ा दिया पीछे. I was talking to a small home loan that Joyson is still paying with some bank. And he said, Mohit, मेरा 14% होम लोन. मैंने बोला 14% होम लोन, वो रेपो बढ़ता गया, बैंक ने अपना मार्जिन उतना ही रखा, तो अभी जो 8.6% है वो जॉय इज पेइंग 14%. ऑल दैट, और उसने एक दिन उठा के देखा ना, आफ्टर ईयर्स ही पिक्ड अप एंड सॉ दैट अरे ये तो 14% हो गया. आप गए ही नहीं बैंक के पास, आपने नए मार्जिन के लिए अप्लाई नहीं किया, वो मार्जिन जो 6% होता था अभी 2% आ गया, आप 14% दे रहे हो. Right? So please understand, on a 20-year when the compounding works, as we know in equity because we are equity investors, जैसे compounding बढ़ता है वैसे ही compounding liability पे भी बढ़ता है. वो liability पे भी बढ़ता है और वो अपने हाथ में है. अपने को सिर्फ एक फोन लगाना है, अपने को एक बार ब्रांच जाना है और बोलना है कि ये मेरा चेंज कर दो आप. We have to just be cognizant. So the day you take a home loan, you say that this is my rate, 8.5%, 8.3%, whatever that home loan is. Now all you have to do, every day we go to Google and watch funny videos. Yeah? We have to just go once in 3 months and say, repo कहाँ है? अरे ये तो कम हो गया. बैंक मार्जिन इन्होंने बोला अभी कम हो गया. Just go there. So why you don't, a lot of investors don't see, because again in the application, the bankers would typically change the tenure. You have to say that, boss, मेरा EMI change करना तुम. You can't change my tenure. So you have to opt for a EMI change, because as soon as your EMI changes, 50,000 रुपए जब वो 60 हो जाएगा, आपको पता लगेगा क्या हो रहा है. तो आप जाके चेक करोगे, आप बोलोगे रेपो बढ़ गया, तो रेपो तो बढ़ना है. रेपो, बिकॉज ऑफ रेपो ओनली योर EMI इज गेटिंग चेंज्ड. बट दैट 60,000 को कम कैसे करना है इज व्हेन यू सी द मार्जिन कितना है, और कैन आई अप्लाई फॉर अ फ्रेश मार्जिन. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, अगेन आई एम सेइंग दिस फॉर द थर्ड टाइम, margin reduction can only be applied. It doesn't auto happen in your home loan. Now that is the big opportunity, and why it doesn't happen, I have no clue, but that is something that you have to apply and take out from the banks. Otherwise, अगर आपने 4% मार्जिन पे लिया हुआ है, वो आपका 4% पे चलता रहेगा. वो पीछे आपका लोन आपने पे कर दिया, 4 साल बाद वो 3 साल बढ़ा देंगे उसके ऊपर, तो फिर आप 19 ईयर्स पे आ गए. %1 saving or increase in your home loan rate can affect you by approximately 15% over 20-year period. बहुत बड़ी अमाउंट है ये, राइट? हम लोग crores का लोन लेते हैं, एंड इट इज़ अ बिग अमाउंट टू नॉट लुक एट दिस. इतना हार्डवर्क करके वी गो एंड अर्न, and when this thing happens without our knowledge because हमने एक पेपर पे साइन करना था, so that is a very painful thing. This is the point on which I decided that I will come in front of you because I went through a 3-month research on what is happening on home loans. Now comes the important point in terms of how to reduce your interest rate. Once you understood the third point, right? And I think Amir, just put or just maybe if you've understood the third point, please say yes, I will just count. And if you've not understood the third point, please say no, I will put some more emphasis because I don't care when this webinar gets over till the time you're there, but I want to make sure that you understand. Please put a yes if you've understood. Please put a no if you've not understood. How to reduce your interest rate and how to reduce your liability. Let's get to business and we will see how we can reduce or what is the possibility with which you can reduce 15%. I am going to address both sets of customers. People who have loan already and people who are willing to take or they are planning to take a loan. So there is both sides I will explain you. अगर आपके पास already एक home loan है या आप लेने जा रहे हैं home loan or you will take a home loan in the future, then what are the things you need to do? Let's look at an existing home loan investor. First thing, as I said, find out what margin you took the home loan at. Right? कोविड के टाइम पे बैंक्स का मार्जिन 4% तक होता था. अभी मार्जिन्स आर इन द रेंज ऑफ 2.5. सो आई डोंट नो व्हाट मार्जिन यू हैव टेकन. आपको सिंपल वे ऑफ फाइंडिंग दिस आउट इज़ अपना लोन एप्लीकेशन खोलिए, उसके अंदर रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट लिखा होगा, उसके अंदर कई बार ब्रेकअप भी लिखा होता है, रेपो रेट इतना है और मार्जिन इतना है. आप अपना मार्जिन देखिए कितना है एंड देन फाइंड आउट द करंट मार्जिन दैट द बैंक इज ऑफरिंग. If your margin that you've taken is higher than the current rate that the bank is offering, the margin rate, please go to the bank tomorrow and fill up that one form, give them that 2,500 rupees and finish it off. Your liability straight away comes down. Any loan that you've taken, margins have drastically taken a dip because repo rates are where they are. Margins banks have reduced. अगर आपके पास एक लोन पुराना है, which is 3 years, 4 years, 5 years back, please find out what your margin is and find out from the same bank what is the current margin and say I want to move to the current margin. आप move हो जाएंगे. From that day onwards, your liability will reduce. It's a very, very simple thing. If the margin is same, come back. If the margin is higher, say Tata, because you already have a lower margin, right? This exercise you have to do every 3 to 6 months. There is no choice because the margins can keep changing. इसमें अच्छी चीज़ क्या होती है कि जैसे एक बार आप लोअर मार्जिन पे आ गए तो कोई आपका मार्जिन बढ़ा नहीं सकता है, उधर से लोअर भी नहीं कर सकता है कोई, आप ही कर सकते हो. आप जाओगे तो नहीं कि मेरा मार्जिन बढ़ा दो, आप तभी जाओगे कि वो मार्जिन मेरा कम करो. अगर वो मार्जिन 6 महीने के लिए भी कम आ गया कहीं भी और आपने लॉक कर दिया लोअर मार्जिन, तो आप वहाँ पे आ गए. अब उससे ऊपर कोई ले जा नहीं सकता आपको. फिर यू आर वॉचिंग यू आर सेइंग ओके अभी लोअर आएगा तो मैं और जाके एप्लीकेशन डालूंगा, देन यू कम लोअर. राइट? इट्स अ क्राइम नॉट टू फॉलो दिस. As I said, remember banks will not reduce your margin on their own unless you ask for it, unless you apply for it. New home loan investors, find out the bank that is charging you the lowest margin. रेपो रेट से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, वो तो उतना ही है. कौन सा बैंक लोएस्ट मार्जिन आपको चार्ज कर रहा है, आप वो बैंक गो एंड फाइंड आउट दैट. नेगोशिएट जीरो प्रोसेसिंग फीस, नेगोशिएट जीरो प्री पेमेंट पेनल्टी, negotiate zero foreclosure charges. It is very easy. It takes not even 5 minutes. वो कुछ बोलेगा उसको दबा दीजिए, उसी टाइम आ जाएगा बाहर. Never take anything for granted when you are going in for a home loan. There is a lot of things that are moved. Home loans, people have DSAs today. वो DSA कुछ बोलता है कि सर प्रोसेसिंग फीस इज 30,000 रुपीज़, बैंक के सैंक्शन लेटर में कभी 1% लिखा होता है, इट इज़ ज़ीरो. हमको ज़ीरो चाहिए हर जगह. दैट्स आर राइट, बिकॉज दैट्स वेयर द इंडस्ट्री इज मूव्ड. सिंपल. आप उसको बोलोगे फ़ोन नहीं करना है, अगली बार जीरो करके आएगा, आपको 2 मिनट में फ़ोन करेगा, सर मैंने एक्सेप्शन कर लिया, यू आर द ओनली इन्वेस्टर सर, आप तो मतलब इतने ग्रेट हो, आपके लिए मैंने सब जीरो कर दिया. अरे वो जीरो था बाबा. राइट. सो यू हैव टू जस्ट मेक श्योर दैट यू नो दीज थिंग्स. Obviously, always go for floating rate in India. Unless you are locking less than a 7% fixed rate, please go for floating rate. 7% fixed rate आएगा ही नहीं. रेपो 6.5 पे अभी. उसके ऊपर मार्जिन होता है और you know when you trying to fix a rate, the margin is much higher. So go for a 7% say lower fixed, but उससे पहले you don't have to change the rate. Check margins every 3 to 6 months. Margin management, as I call idea number 1, will straight away get you saving. अगर आपको इसके अंदर 50 basis point से 1% का saving लोन में नहीं आया, I will change my name. You have to make sure you track it like a hawk. 20 साल की liability है, 1% CAGR, कमा नहीं रहे हैं, गवा रहे हैं. So you have to make sure that you manage over a period of time margin. Now आपका बैंक बोल रहा है यार 2.2 है मेरा मार्जिन, आपने फ़ोन किया, उसने बोला 2.2 है, अब मेरे को क्या करना है, मैं 2 जगह और फ़ोन करूंगा. दैट टेक्स मी टू पॉइंट नंबर 2. मेरे पास बैलेंस ट्रांसफ़र है, ज़ीरो कॉस्ट. मैंने HDFC को फ़ोन लगाया. आई एम टेकिंग एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ नेम, प्लीज़ डोंट होल्ड मी फॉर एनी बैंक, आई एम टेकिंग ओनली एग्जाम्पल्स. HDFC को फ़ोन लगाया, मैंने बोला आपका मार्जिन, मेरा मार्जिन कितना है, उन्होंने बोला आप यू नो योर मार्जिन, माई मार्जिन इज़ 2.2. आपका करंट मार्जिन कितना है, उसने बोला सर 2.2 ही है. सर 2.3 है, कुछ नहीं करना, 2.2 से नीचे चेंज करो. देन आई कॉल अप SBI, सर आपका मार्जिन कितना है, बोलता 1.9. अच्छा, सो आई एम पेइंग 2.2. My bank is not reducing the margin, but SBI has reduced the margin. ICICI has reduced the margin. 4 बैंक को रख लीजिए, डायरी में नोट कर लीजिए. 4 बैंक्स, 4 बैंक को फ़ोन करना है, मार्जिन पता करना है. 1.9 आ गया आपको, मैं बैलेंस ट्रांसफ़र कर रहा हूँ. मेरा लोन है, आप ट्रांसफ़र कर लीजिए HDFC से SBI में, SBI से यहाँ कर लीजिए. इतना डिफरेंस अगर आ गया, आई हैव मेट विद मल्टीपल बैंक्स. यू डू नो व्हाट इज द मार्जिन डिफरेंस? 50 बेसिस पॉइंट, 50, मतलब आधा %. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मार्जिन डिफरेंस होता नहीं है बैंक में, मार्जिन डिफरेंस होता है, लेकिन हम चेक नहीं करते. राइट. सो वंस यू से दैट मेरा बैंक नहीं कर रहा है, लेकिन इसने तो कर दिया ड्रॉप, SBI ने कर दिया, ICICI ने ड्रॉप कर दिया, या मतलब सम अदर बैंक हैज ड्रॉप्ड, आई विल गो देयर एंड आई विल डू माई बैलेंस ट्रांसफर. बैलेंस ट्रांसफर इज नथिंग बट योर बैंक, the other bank pays your loan here and starts your loan there. It's a balance transfer. Right? So if the bank margin is still higher and you're stuck, then you can do balance transfer to some other bank. But वो 50 basis point to 1% का saving हमें लाना इसलिए because that gets locked in. Once I'm locked in onto a lower margin, nobody can increase my margin. Nobody can decrease my margin. Only I can decrease my margin, right? So take account of benefits and foreclosure in your current account, and also do a balance transfer to the other bank. New home loan investors, ensure you negotiate again zero processing fees. Balance transfer आपका applicable नहीं because आपने loan नहीं लिया है. But if you take a loan, again the existing home loan parameters apply. Now, this third product, and the third way that I'm going to talk about of how to save, again, lakhs and crores, is a very interesting one. So see this and see if you like this one. This is known as the overdraft magic. आपको बहुत complicated नहीं है, बहुत simple है. बहुत कम banks इसको offer करते हैं. ICICI is one of the banks that offers this product. What is a overdraft product? So I'll go step by step. बहुत सिंपल है. आपका होम लोन अकाउंट खुलता है, उसी में क्लब सेविंग्स अकाउंट होता है. विद द होम लोन अकाउंट देयर इज अ सेविंग्स अकाउंट दैट इज ऑल्सो इंक्लूडेड इन दैट. सो लेट्स अज्यूम यू आर पेइंग से 8.8%, 8.7% पे आपका टोटल होम लोन है. If I transfer some money into this savings account, I can use this as a savings. मैं कभी भी निकाल सकता हूँ मेरे सेविंग, जैसे मैं सेविंग्स अकाउंट चलता है, कभी भी निकाल सकता हूँ, कभी भी जमा कर सकता हूँ. My home loan liability comes out by that amount. Brilliant. Brilliant. But now, for who it is brilliant, let's understand this. So, what is the home loan OD product? It's known as the home loan OD product. It's a savings account opened with your home loan account. Move your FD to this account. FD में आपको प्री टैक्स 6% मिलता है, 6.2%, 6.5%, depending on which bank you're doing the FD, depending on if you're a senior citizen, if you're not a senior citizen, 6% एवरेज लेते हैं. You're getting pre-tax of 6%. इसमें पता है आपको pre-tax कितना मिलता है? 11%, 11%. बिकॉज 11% से आप टैक्स लगाएंगे तो निकालेंगे तो उसे 8.5, 8.7% आपके हाथ में आना चाहिए. यहाँ पे जैसे ही आपने वो FD पैसा डाला, आपको स्ट्रेट 8.7% का रिडक्शन हो जाता है, बिकॉज उस अमाउंट से लोन कम हो जाता है. ऑन एन एवरेज अगर मैं सिंपल एग्जांपल लेता हूँ 1 करोड़ के लोन का, आप उसको 5 करोड़ बना लीजिए, 10 करोड़ बना लीजिए. अगर 1 करोड़ का मैंने लोन लिया और उसका रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इज से 8.7% एंड इट इज़ अ OD, अगर मैंने उसमें 10 लाख रुपए डाल दिए और रख दिया उसको वहाँ, कभी यूज़ कर रहा हूँ, कभी 9,40,000 हो गए, व्हाटएवर, 10 लाख मैंने डाल दिए उसके अंदर, सो 8.7 effectively becomes 7.7. I get the full benefit of 8.7% on the 10 lakhs that I've given. आपका FD में भी पैसा नहीं बनता है इतना. FD is a 6% pre-tax instrument. This is a 11% benefit. So, now the question to ask is that, so every 10% of your loan amount that you move into this account reduces your EMI by 1%. So आपका EMI change हो जाता है. Are you getting? Your tenure, no. Every month you will have a different EMI depending on what balance you are maintaining in that OD account. Now, अगर मेरे पास FD पड़ी है, FD मुझे 5.5-6% दे रही है, मेरे को क्यों रखने का FD? वो FD मुझे अब इफेक्टिवली 11% रिटर्न दे रही है, मैं FD को उधर मूव कर दूंगा. पर हमको क्या है, वो पैसा अकाउंट में दिखना चाहिए, आता है, लेकिन जो जाता है वो दिख नहीं रहा है. सो वो जो जा रहा है, अपन जो इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहे हैं वो 8.7, 8.8% से पे कर रहे हैं, और इंटरेस्ट जो आ रहा है अपने को FD से वो अपने को 5.5-6% पे आ रहा है. सो द बेसिक थिंग दैट यू नीड टू डू इज turn your philosophy and say that this FD that I'm keeping 1 crore FD, 50 lakh FD, 10 lakh FD, I'll just liquidate that and put it in this OD account. My EMI gets reduced. My rate of interest effectively becomes 7.7 because my loan amount gets reduced. 1 crore, 10 lakh, your loan amount is now 90 lakhs for that month. It's calculated on daily averages. So your EMI changes at the end of every month. So why am I putting money in FD? I will take a large home loan. मेरे पास FD है, मैं FD वहाँ डाल दूंगा. Contingency FD. अगर आप, if you truly take my suggestion, if there is something that you are not using and you're not going to use it, just kept it, कि 15 साल बाद I'll give it to my child, तो it is a loss situation because anyways you're paying 8.6% and you're earning only 4.5-5% there. वो तो आपको वैसे ही होम लोन के टाइम उसको डाल देना चाहिए और बन जाएगा पैसा, डोंट वरी. बट if I have kept this money for, I have to give college fees, I have to do this, I have to do that, 1 year, 2 year horizon, 3 year horizon, उसको FD में मत रखिए, उसको OD अकाउंट में डाल दीजिए. Your liability comes down by, and you earn as good as 8.7%. Great product. If you are a FD player and if you have loans के बाद भी, if you've got an FD, this product typically comes 20 to 30 basis point expensive. इसका मार्जिन ज़्यादा लेते हैं वो लोग. सो करंटली इफ द मार्जिन इज से 2.2 बैंक्स का, इस प्रोडक्ट पे वो 2.5 मार्जिन लेते हैं, 2.6 लेते हैं. फिर अपन वही करेंगे, स्टेप 1, कभी इस प्रोडक्ट का मार्जिन कम हुआ तो हमारा भी कम करो, राइट. सो ऑल ऑफ दैट स्टेप्स वी विल कीप रिपीटिंग दैट वी डू नॉर्मली विद द अदर opportunities as we always do, right? So these are the 3 methods where the overdraft facility foreclosure and transfer, and the first is the margin management. But margin management is the key to everything. If you have a FD, then overdraft becomes a great product because it is as good as an FD giving me return of not 6% but 11%, which is pre-tax. Okay. Should you prepay your loan or not? Again, there's a lot of misconception around this, which is should we prepay the loan or not? इसका आंसर जितना सिंपल आप समझ सकते हैं उतना ही है, लेकिन अपन कॉम्प्लिकेट कर देते हैं because we have been taught very wrongly that अगर वो 10 year तक interest rate, 10 year तक interest component is higher, and then after that there's no point of prepaying the loan and all. I have done, in fact, I had some misconceptions that Sunil corrected today when I sat with him. And when we looked at the numbers, I was shocked. Whether you prepay the loan on the first day or on the 20th year, it is beneficial. Right? Simple formula to understand your total liability. Let's first understand your total liability. We have taken a loan of 1 crore. Let's assume we've taken a loan of 1 crore. Rate of interest is 8.5, 8.6 for 20-year period. The net amount that I'm paying through my EMIs after 20 years is 2.1 crores. So 2.1x is my open liability. 1 crore pe 2.1 is what I'm paying at the end of 20 years during the year. Right? First 10 years, your contribution to interest payment is around 75% and your contribution to principal payment is around 25%, and then it changes. But time value of money, which is EMI if you were to invest in an FD, EMI if you were to invest in equities, results in a very simple known phenomena. It will tell you, should you prepay the loan? The answer is yes and no. Why yes? Home loan is at 8.6% reducing balance. FD in debt, let's say you earn 4 to 5. Let's say you earn 4 to 5% post-tax on your FD investment. Let's say you earn 6 to 7% post-tax on your debt investments. Please, you are losing on an average of 3 to 4% month on month. Prepay unless you require this FD money for something else. Unless you require the debt money for a shorter term horizon. Yes, for any money in non-contingent. Why do I keep saying non-contingent? I keep saying non-contingent if we need that money. If you need that money, then don't prepay. If you do not need that money and you've kept it for investment purposes, it is absolutely stupid not to prepay your home loan, whether it is on the first month or it is on the last month. You are paying at the rate of 8.6%, sir. You are earning at the rate of 4%, sir, or 5%, or 6%. That gap is too huge. It is 2 to 3% of wealth destruction if you are keeping your money in FD or in debt. Equity, anything that earns more than 10% or in the range of 10 to 12% post tax on your equity investment, it will be again foolish to pay this money. Market down है, ये निकाल के मैं अपना loan pay कर देता हूँ. I am terrified that my equity market is a little down and I have a home loan liability also. You have a home loan liability with 20 years, no? Give your equity 20 years, no? You will see the impact. So equity money should never be used to prepay the home loans. Non-contingent debt money, which is your FD or your debt, should always be used to offset your home loan. Very, very simple, unfollowed again. 2-2.5% अगर हमारा बच गया, ये FD का जो हमें अट्रैक्शन है, बैंक में पैसा होना चाहिए, पीछे लाइबिलिटी है, उसको अगर अपन क्लियर करेंगे and you're saving 2 to 3%, you're saving as good as 60% of what you're making in FD. More by paying that, unless it is a FD that you require in 3 years, 2 years and all this stuff. Don't prepare that. Remaining surplus FD. please prepay. Beauty of both these approaches. Take the OD product. In the OD product, contingent भी अपन पे कर देंगे. अपने को जो चाहिए नहीं FD उससे तो पे कर देंगे. Contingent FD वहाँ रख देंगे. Can you imagine? You will thank me. You will take me out for dinner. Because वहाँ पे if you do that, you will be saving 2, 3, 4%. आपका effective interest rate I can get it down to 5.56% with this. जो हमारा कंटिंजेंसी है उसको हमने ओडी में रख दिया. एक ही द वन एल्योर ऑफ मेकिंग श्योर दैट बॉस आई नीड टू सी एफडी का इंटरेस्ट, टैक्स भी पूरा भरूंगा, एफडी का इंटरेस्ट देखना. दैट एल्योर यू हैव टू गो अवे फ्रॉम. हाउ टू हेज योर रिस्क, आई एम डूइंग दिस नेक्स्ट वीक. आई विल ऑलवेज टेल यू डू दिस. योर टोटल लाइबिलिटी इज 2.1 टाइम्स योर होम लोन अमाउंट. 20 साल में अगर मैंने 5 करोड़ का 10 करोड़ का लोन लिया तो 20 करोड़ 10 करोड़. इफ आई हैव टेकन 1 करोड़ का लोन तो 2.1 करोड़ इज माई टोटल लाइबिलिटी. आई हैव टू टेक अ एडिशनल टर्म कवर इफ एनीथिंग हैपेंस टू मी. सिंपल टर्म कवर ले लीजिए, सिंपल होम लोन प्रोटेक्टर कवर ले लीजिए. You have to make sure that if anything happens, especially because most of my investors here are in that 30, 40, 50 range. So हम लोग in that we are in a risk range, I would say, right? So if we are in a risk range, we don't want to take a risk and leave this liability to our family. I already have insurance. वो नहीं, that you've taken for some other purpose. Remember that. So don't console yourself. मेरे पास तो already है. This term plan for this particular home loan has to be taken, and that has to be over and above your other insurance plans that you typically have. Key things to always remember. I'm going to summarize this. Take a picture of this particular slide. Everything that I've spoken is here. Point number 1, bank margin is the only number you need to remember. Point number 2, repo is not in your control. Number 3, banks change their margins often, but it doesn't change on its own. You have to apply for it. Only then the bank changes it. They can never increase their margin also. So don't worry, your margin cannot be increased without your permission. Keep looking for lower bank margin or shift to other banks which is offering you this. We don't have any love for a specific bank. I have only a love for a reduced margin. ये देगा तो ये देगा, वो देगा तो वो देगा, तीसरा देगा तो तीसरा देगा. Track this every 3 to 6 months. This is a main point. Track this every 3 to 6 months. This can result in crores of savings on a longer duration. Use one of the 3 methods to reduce your liability: margin management, balance transfer, or the OD loan amount that I have told you. Also take the highest duration of loan available because it gives you a larger ability to pay in terms of your time. Immediately take 2.1 times term cover on your home loan over and above your other term loan, other plans and liabilities. Non-contingent debt allocation should be used to prepay, and it makes sense over a 20-year period. Equity investment should not be used to prepay longer term loans. Shorter term is different. I'll quickly cover for people who joined late. Model portfolios and portfolio optimizers, we are moving to Mojo Infinity. We are removing it from the MojoOne pack. It doesn't get removed from the MojoOne pack of existing users. So you relax. Nothing happens to you guys. For new users, it will get removed from 1st of Feb and it will be priced separately in Mojo Infinity. But for existing users, even if your subscription is for the next 10 years, 15 years, you will get it free. You don't have to worry at all. Why are we doing this? Primarily because we need to make sure that these portfolios are taken seriously. You have to improve your execution rate. You should know what risk profile you have. You will be able to trade directly with small case, no more manual entries, faster execution. You will be able to put in a gray list, negative list. You will get a virtual portfolio. We want to make sure that the current execution rate of model portfolios is 5%. That should at least go to 80-85%. And you will have to do a very, very simple 2-minute KYC. This you should understand that the difference out here is that new users joining MojoOne platform will not get model portfolio and portfolio optimizer. They'll have to buy it separately at Mojo Infinity. If you're an existing user, you will get it till your subscription expires. Once your subscription expires, then when you buy the MojoOne plan again, it will not have model portfolio and optimizer. From 1st of Feb also, since these offers keep coming, and if you extend after 1st of Feb, your model portfolio and optimizer will not extend. So for example, if I am a 10-year member today, and say on 10th of Feb I extend for another 3 years, I will have 10 years of model portfolio and optimizer along with MojoOne, and 3 years of another 3 years of only MojoOne without model portfolio and optimizer. For that reason, we are today giving this offer, which we had done in December, which was the favorite offer. We opened it on Friday for some time. We are opening it up again for some time right now. 14,999 for 1 year. You get 2 years free along with this to make sure that you have a 3-year pack. As I said, if you extend the same pack, which will not be available, but if you are trying to extend any pack from 1st of Feb, that pack will not have model portfolio and optimizer. We are only giving this facility till the time the model portfolios and optimizer is there on the site. With that note, thank you so much. Good night.